I just was wondering if we can get a little bit more from Timothy on his Hobbesian, let's say, fair approach to these laws. Is he in favour of the racial incitement law, if not a religious one? I assume he includes the Holocaust when he says he doesn't think the history book should be legislated about. And finally, what is his response to the BNP point that Mehdi raised? And sorry, very finally, can somebody, either Douglas or Timothy, tell me what about those cartoons that is so important? Given that they offend so many more people than they please, can somebody just, I mean this non-facetiously, but because I want to know the hate, what is it that is so crucial about those cartoons?
Can I answer that straight away? The reason was this, was that Fleming, the editor of the culture editor of Jean Boston, just heard that there was a children's book publishing firm in Denmark who were intending to do a series of children's books about the major religions. And they had done on Christianity, on Buddhism, so on. And they discovered that the one for children about Islam, which, like the others, was an entirely offensive, description of the history of religion for children, that they couldn't find an illustrator who was willing to illustrate the book. And they went around quite a number, and they all said, one of them went to the president anonymously and said, yes, I was thinking of Terrible God, the murdered filmmaker. And as a result of this, Jean Seaton realised that there was already a self-censorship in Danish society, and that self-censorship like that ought clearly, and I agree with this, to be broken.
But Douglas, what you're not telling the audience is that they were part of that self-censorship. 2 years earlier, they were offered cartoons of the Christ, and they said, we're not going to publish this because it will offend Christians.
Maybe that's not true. That's not true. I'll tell you what happened with that. There was a cartoonist who went to Jean Seaton 2 years earlier with a cartoon. The editor said, we do not think that our readers would appreciate this. But what he meant was, and they have published anti-Christian cartoons. In fact, Fleming brought one along last night. No, they've published ones before as well.
But before the Muslim cartoons, they self-censored on Christian.
No, they didn't. Let me just explain it back to you. What happened was that this man came with a cartoon. The response, the standard brushaway response was, we don't think our readers appreciate this. This is because they decided it wasn't a good cartoon. It wasn't because of its Christianity.
The Muslim ones.
No. It wasn't because of its Christianity that they didn't include it, because they had included and have since Christian cartoons that Christians would find offensive. And this, well, the point is this, that once you've decided that there is something in your society you cannot say, once you decide that one religion can be ring-fenced from offence, can be protected and treated on a different level, I think you have a problem. And this is what Fleming and the others thought as well. It will be a problem if we treat Islam differently from
So do you campaign throughout Europe against Holocaust denial laws on the basis that Jews are getting special exemptions?
Let me explain it, yes.
For consistency?
Yes, I'm against Holocaust denial.
No, on those terms. Do you go to Holland and Germany and France? Do you say, I'm against these laws because you're giving Jews special protection?
Yes, of course. This is
you use that phrase? You're saying it's about Muslims getting special exemption. You're obsessed with Muslims. All I'm saying is, do you use the same language for Jews? Is Holocaust denial associated with Jews in the same way that the cartoon? I don't have a problem with cartoons, I'm a Muslim.
Yes, it
but
is.
you generalise about Muslims.
No, I don't. I'm trying to talk about a specific case, if you're not interrupting me. No, you don't know the case. On Holocaust denial, the reason why Holocaust denial, why I'm spoken against it and written against it routinely, is yes, precisely because it gives one group an ownership of a part of history that cannot be touched, which I think is a problem. I think is a mistake. Apart from anything else, because as always happens, other groups notice it. When Sikhs rioted outside Beheshti, I was against that because I also knew if other groups came on this, and they will, if they succeed this, other groups will come in. Lo and behold, Jerry Springer, the opera, more evangelical Christians will do it. If you give people the idea that one group can have protected space, other groups will follow. Other groups will request the same thing. And we see this now with the Holocaust denial laws, with other groups wanting certain parts of their own history ring-fenced. The other thing is, of course, and just to bring on Timothy's point on this, and the point that Orwell made about this, is how much weaker it makes us as a society when we say there is something that cannot be said. And one of my favourite columns of Orwell's from Tribune in 1947 or 6, I think, is his description of what you would do if you met a flat earther. He said, what mentally thinking about it, how would I have done this? He said, I could probably do the horizon thing, and the ship sailing along it doesn't remain same. I could do some things, but how would I actually explain to somebody that I know the Earth to be round? And what would I do if I met somebody who said, it's not flat, but it's cone-shaped? All these things are different. The point I'm trying to make is, we weaken ourselves. He says, of course, he'd have to have the worst thing of all. He recognises that he would have to say at some point, I can't explain why I know the Earth is round, but I know a man who can. This is a very useful thought demonstration to do, and this is the problem with Holocaust denial laws, is that they make us as a society no less. And I think, by the way, if you speak to certainly the younger generation of scholars now on the Second World War and the Holocaust, I would say, and I hope it's not preemptive fuddy-duddery, that they are knowing less than some of their predecessors for precisely this reason. That if you ring-fence ideas, if you ring-fence things in history, you don't have to know as much. What will these people do against David Irving? David Irving will know more than them. Because they haven't had to rub against this, they haven't had to try it out, they've been ring-fenced from offence. This is a terrible, terrible precedent.